No one loves money more than Disney. And just in case acquiring Marvel, Star Wars, Blue Sky, 20th Century Fox and even National Bloody Geographic wasn't enough, they still feel the need to produce unnecessary sequels and somewhat unnecessary live-action remakes. Don't get me wrong, some of Disney's live-action remakes are actually quite good, and then others are just pretty soulless, to be honest. So with all that being said, today we are going to be taking a somewhat long journey down the road of Disney live-action remakes. Strap in, because it's gonna be a long and a strange one. Now, before we start getting into what works with live action remakes, what doesn't work, what's good, what isn't, let's look at the first ever Disney live action remake, The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book was released in 2016 and reportedly cost over $175 million to produce, and then made $966 million globally. Now, personally, this film is a prime example of a classic Disney film that didn't need a live-action remake, and here's why. First off, this film obviously used CGI to create a lot, if not all, of the characters. Baloo, Bagheera, Shere Khan, King Louie, meaning that, in essence, this film was a little adolescent child away from being an animation. But I get it, the animals look 100% real. I mean, 100% real despite them being able to talk fluent English, which, spoiler alert, panthers don't speak fluent English. Sorry. And I mean, if we're assuming that by live action remake we just mean the characters look 100% real, then fine. We'll take that definition and I'm a run with it for the rest of this video essay. Having briefly looked at why Jungle Book just didn't work as a live action remake, I now want to talk about my sort of criteria for reasons where a film should be adapted into a live action style, and also films that have done it well and others that, haven't. Now, I've always had the opinion of if a live-action remake has nothing to add to the original film, then it simply shouldn't be made. What I mean by this is a lot of older classic animated Disney films have plot holes in them or misrepresentation in them that slid through at the time because either people didn't dive into the lore and the backstory of these characters and films, so any sort of plot holes weren't really explored, or, let's be honest, people just weren't as aware of other cultures as they are now. My favourite and most predominant example of this would be 2017's Beauty and the Beast. People have been picking plot holes in 1991's Beauty and the Beast for years, specifically around the prince's age. The basis for this plot hole is that at the start of the Beauty and the Beast, the narrator says that the plot takes place shortly before the prince's 21st birthday.
The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted rose, which would bloom until his 21st year.
This, along with a lyric in Be Our Guest in which Lumiere sings,
10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting.
Now these two bits of evidence in together would suggest that the prince was 11 when he turned the old woman away at the door. Which doesn't really mean he's an arsehole, more that he's listened to Stranger Danger. This, however, was then fixed in 2017's live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast, as that lyric was changed from 10 years we've been rusting to too long we've been rusting. So you see how just a simple little 2 words changed fixes this plot hole. I mean, within 2017's Beauty and the Beast, there's also several other plot holes that have been fixed, such as Belle's mother, who's she, what happened to her, all the villagers just forgetting they had a prince and the castle, Mr. Potts, sort of just to name the main ones that people would talk about. Unfortunately, though, not everything's perfect, and not every Disney live-action remake is this well thought out and complements the original. Enter 2019's The Lion King. Now, my main issue with this film is that it goes against the main statement I said at the start of this video. If a live-action remake doesn't have anything to add to the original story, it simply shouldn't be made. And I don't think there's a worse offender for this than 2019's The Lion King. It was pretty much a carbon copy of the original film, with no or very little changes. And I mean, the changes that were made weren't big plot hole fixing changes or modernizations, they were just random decisions. It was Chiwetel Ejiofor's shockingly bad performance of Be Prepared, which I'm not blaming on Chiwetel Ejiofor at all. That was probably a director's choice or the musical guy's choice to go, sing it like this, but he barely sung it, and we know he can sing, so it's just one of the best villain songs, if not the best, absolutely shat on. Long story short, this film was just a complete and utter letdown. The fact that this film is in essence a complete carbon copy of the original Lion King leads me very nicely on to my next point, and that being that a live action remake should complement the original, not be a substitute for it. Several, if not most, of the live action remakes do things to complement the original film. Most common being modernisation, whether that be fixing politically incorrect song lyrics, changing the look of a character or characters to better fit the correct setting of the film. Most recent example obviously being Halle Bailey's portrayal of Ariel in 2023's The Little Mermaid. Review on the card. Click it and watch it. I did a full review. Had to get a plug in there, sorry. Full review on the card. Click the card. My review of 2023's Little Mermaid. Go watch it. Now, to say that this casting choice caused a lot of conversations would be a complete and utter understatement. But for every bigoted, racist argument as to why Ariel shouldn't be played by a person of colour, there was a well thought out argument by someone who has more than 2 brain cells. Now, there are 2 main reasons I could think of why I think Ariel was perhaps the greatest character in a live action format to change the ethnicity of, and we'll go through them very quickly. I think the main point is that Ariel's race is completely irrelevant to the film. So whether she was Asian, African, American, whatever race she was, the film's plot still plays out. And I think that really, like, that's the one argument. If anyone's complaining, you're like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The plot stays the same, and it means we just get more representation, which obviously is never a bad thing. Now, point B, I'm going to read from my laptop, because I got a direct quote from someone, and I don't want to get it wrong. So, point B comes from marine biologist Karen Osborne, who says, as you get deeper, you see animals that are pigmented or deep red because there's hardly any light in the deep sea, and these pigments make it harder for predators to see. So, if we were, just for a brief second, to, put reality to the side and say, mermaids exist, and they would live in deep oceans to avoid detection, and therefore would have darker pigment. I don't know what to tell you. I shouldn't have needed to give a second reason. I think the first reason was solid enough. It's a work of fiction. It's a work of fiction. Get over yourself. Perhaps, however, one of my favourite parts of a live-action remake is seeing lesser developed characters get a bit more to do. A couple of examples would be Princess Jasmine in 2019's Aladdin, where she gets an entire song where she sings about the struggles of growing up under her father, the Sultan, and all the troubles and difficulties that brings.
I can't stay silent, though they want to keep me quiet, and I tremble when they try it.
We also see this in a slightly lesser way in 2017's Beauty and the Beast, where we see LeFou become a bit more defiant and not as lenient to Gastonisms. So all of this discussion on, the good, the bad, and just the plain soulless kind of begs one question. What is the future of Disney's live-action remakes? I mean, there's kind of 2 answers. What I think will happen, and what I think should happen. In terms of what I think will happen, Disney are just going to continue to pump out live-action remakes for every animated film they've ever done. I mean, they're running out of classics now, to the point they're having to do Princess and the Frog and Moana, 2 fairly recent films. So that's what they're going to do, isn't it? Let's be honest. They just love money. What I think should happen, though, is Disney should focus on remaking classics that either suffer from misrepresentation, political incorrectness, plot holes, and remake them in a live-action format to fix all of that. Or focus on telling unique spin-off stories in the live-action style. Much like they did with Maleficent and Cruella, and I know I didn't mention them in this video, I just really didn't have much to say on them, other than they're great films and I really enjoyed them. They just didn't really fit in the flow anywhere, but I wanted to give them a quick little mention. It felt weird not to. That was my little-ish video essay kind of thing on Disney remakes. Should they be made? Shouldn't they be made? What do I think of them? All my thoughts just compiled into one video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Disney stuff from me, then you can click here to watch my full review of The Little Mermaid 2023, or you can click here and watch the bizarre history of Kermit the Frog. Subscribe here. Podcast channel up here. Subscribe if you're new or you haven't done so already. And I will see you on Saturday, because you're going to subscribe. And we're going to have a great video on Saturday. Saturday will be my looking through Little Mermaid reviews and chatting about them videos. So get excited for that, folks. I've been Fraser Oliver. He's been Olaf. Bye.